listening to Out Late with David. True stories of coming out later in life. And now here's your host, David Cotton.
This is Out Late with David, because it's never too late to live your truth. After years of sadness, emptiness, and self-loathing, today's guest finally came out of the closet in 2013 at age 44 and reinvented himself. Now happily married to his husband of almost 6 years, they live in Palm Springs, which is where we are today. In 2023, he wrote a memoir of his journey to authentic happiness, Glowing Up Gay. Today, I welcome Peter Leahy to Out Late with David. Welcome.
Thanks, David, for having me.
Yeah. Well, before we jump in, though, I know I did, wore a mask for a long time. And so you described living in your book of what looked like a normal life. What did it look like from the outside?
I think it looked like maybe just a little bit awkward, where I tried to fit in, or tried to have friends, and we tried to live a normal life. I think it's almost the equivalent of pushing water uphill, always trying to be a different person and not really fitting in and not really having the life that you wanted. I probably was acting more than I was living.
So how did that feel internally in your acting instead of living?
Well, again, I felt like I wasn't hurting anyone because it was for myself. But, in a nutshell, I was lying every single day to other people, to people that I loved, to my friends, and most importantly, to myself.
You mentioned that feeling of sadness and emptiness. When did you first recognize that sadness, emptiness feeling?
Well, as I like to say when I was in the closet, I wasn't necessarily unhappy, but I mean, the way that I live now and where we lived and how I live, I was a mile away from happiness. I think that's the part that if you don't really live your authentic self, you don't realize how much you're compromising every single day.
Did you ever feel you just had to live a certain way, and it's why you decided just to keep it all internalized?
For me, it was sort of a 1-2 combo. I wanted kids. I wanted to live a normal, but I think there was also a part of me that I didn't want to be different. I felt like if I was different, I would lose everything, my family, my friends, the life that I had grown accustomed to, and that what was inside of me was too scary to acknowledge. So I just sort of pushed it aside. For
a word I picked up on, you said you wanted to live it normal.
Yeah.
Describe normal? What's normal?
Well, again, when you grow up in an Irish Catholic family, and again, I'm from Massachusetts originally, proud Bostonian, I wanted to have the idea where I could have children. I could, worship my favorite sports teams. I could live a life in which my parents lived, my friends lived, in which I was living more or less the American dream.
So you were married to a woman. How long did that? Married?
So we were married 20 years. I have 2 children from that previous marriage. And for many years, it wasn't necessarily bad. Again, it wasn't good. I wasn't necessarily happy, but it just wasn't bad. But I think the idea of settling into a comfortable life because I was afraid to acknowledge that I was gay or the type of men that I was attracted to, I think that I built walls around me that really prevented me from, again, living my authentic self, but more importantly, really being happy and loving myself first before I could love anyone else.
When did you first have this feeling of maybe being different to where you needed to hide or live in a different way?
Oh, I think it started in high school. I think the idea that I knew that I probably was attracted to men and that I knew exactly what I wanted. I was really scared. And I think that's the part of the self-loathing part of me, or the part of me that was just uncomfortable. I was ashamed. I let shame, my internalized shame, really drive who I was and push down the part of me that was really the best part of me, the happy part of me. And it's amazing when I finally opened that door, a little Superman reveal there, to really allow the fabulosity come out. That's when my smile came back. The people that came into my life, again, when you're hiding or when you're deceiving yourselves, you are putting on a mask, and you can't really let people in because they don't really see the real you. So I went from the quote unquote straight to the gay world, not having any friends, not really knowing anybody, and thinking it was dramatically different. And I was wrong about everything.
Did you have friends in life, though, going through school?
I did. Yeah. I mean, I had friends and I had coworkers. And again, I wasn't necessarily unhappy, but I was always fighting who I was on the inside.
So you're married for 20 years. You had 2 children.
Yep.
Kind of a normal classical family routine.
That and money problems. We lived a life of constantly buying and selling a home and using the proceeds for that home to pay the bills, and then moving somewhere and buying things. I mean, it's a classic case of almost buying things for happiness. And when you accumulate stuff that doesn't really make you happy, or even if it does, it's temporary. You got to be happy inside before you can buy, experience, or do anything else.
So when, during this relationship in your marriage, what was the moment that said that something needs to change here?
For me, there is a date that happened. And again, it was in 2013, just before I came out. I don't have an event. I just decided one day I wasn't going to be unhappy anymore. And again, if I knew how good my life was going to be and how fabulous somewhere like Palm Springs, I probably would have done it a year or two, a decade before that. But I needed the strength to say, I'm not going to be unhappy anymore. I deserve to be happy. And that was the first step of accepting who I was, finding people that I could support me, like me, and eventually love me in a way that I needed to create a new life for myself.
So when you said you didn't want to be unhappy anymore, what did happiness look like at that point in time?
I don't think I knew. I think I was really at rock bottom, and I thought that I deserved better and it had to be better. And I think part of the depression that I had at the time, and again, I went to years of therapy after I came out, because like most people, I had built an ecosystem for myself that really needed to I needed to rethink and sort of re-experience the world in a way through sort of fresh eyes. But to your earlier question, I think it had to be something different, but I didn't actually know what I took a leap coming out, not knowing what my life was going to be.
So what was that first leap toward when you came out?
First step was coming out to a coworker, my HR representative. I told him that I was gay and I had just left my wife. And amazingly, he told me that he was gay, and I had no idea. I was like, my gaydar was so limited at the time. But more importantly, I wasn't straight, but I wasn't exactly gay yet. And I think making that connection with somebody and finding someone that I could talk to about what the gay world was like. And, I've mentioned a couple times the straight world versus the gay world. They're one and the same. I just wasn't experiencing, or I didn't have that network of people yet in the gay world that would allow me to really find my tribe and then live comfortably.
Did he become a mentor of sorts? Or?
Oh, without a doubt. He was like my gay whisperer for a while.
Oh, okay.
And, learning terms, learning what bars to go to, or more importantly, confiding in me or confiding in other people at work that were actually gay and that may or may not be out, and allowed me to meet with them to, again, slowly expand my network.
How did that change your daily rhythm of life or your daily feeling when you got up each morning?
Not alone. I think I woke up every day saying, oh, there are other people like me. Because, again, when you're in the closet for 20 years, and again, I know I'm speaking to the audience here, when you're in the closet for that long, you think you're different, you think you're problematic, you think you're damaged goods, all those ways that I thought that no one had ever experienced.
That self-shame and loathing is prevalent.
And, go 6 months later, and the Atlanta Pride Festival is in October in that town, and I find the Gay Fathers of Atlanta. And it's like, and I was just bubbling with the idea that there was a network out there. There were people like me. There were people that had similar experiences, and that someone to talk to and share my story and learn from them and their stories.
Good. And you found this group how? Just
walking through a Pride festival for the first time, and I was just ecstatic that there was acceptance of being both gay and a father.
a lot of times people say, why do you wear sometimes, like a pride bracelet or something? But it's just that. It's to show others, come discreetly too, that, we're all out there.
And we may discuss this a little bit more later, but I think one of the things that in first coming out was juggling my identities. Mm-hmm. I had my work persona, I had my friends persona, I had what I could tell to my kids because they were a little bit young at the time. So that type of juggling is all about what's the story, what's the situation, what language, what do they know? Mm-hmm. It's amazing when you finally put those all together and there's only one Peter story that allows you to live more freely and just it's less taxing on you in general.
How long did it take to integrate all those lines of Peter into one Peter?
Oh, I think it took at least 2 years. And it was actually a straight coworker because what I had done at the time was I was very deliberately coming out to some of my coworkers and friends and not others. People I was comfortable with, people I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And it was primarily women versus men, but that's a different story. And he said, Stop doing that. Live your life, have your friends, do what you want to, people will figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I sort of needed that little slap on the face to say, if you stop doing it, if you just live and breathe and, go on with your life, people will come with you on that journey or they won't. And the people that are coming with you, they love and support you.
Yeah, I agree somewhere in between. I think it's important for people to let folks into their life at some level because then they're having to understand who they are to be able to articulate it for one. It helps them process it as well. But you reach a point, I agree, that you don't need to do that anymore and then just be yourself and the world will figure it out. But I think it's a maturation phase to go from being able to explain it to someone and actually understand it and believe it to then just be yourself. Peers.
I'm mentoring a young man who's in Arkansas right now who is out to some of his coworkers, but not to his family. And he's sort of going through something that I had done in which I couldn't say the word gay in a full voice. Hey, I just want to let you know that I'm...
The whisper.
It was like I was literally not comfortable with that word and myself in the same sentence. And that's another part of the process to say, this is who I am, to be proud, to wear a rainbow bracelet or two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, out loud and proud. As a life coach, I'm committed to help you discover the passions in your life and help you map a course to achieve the things you really want. Together, we will unwind those persistent self-doubts that are holding you back. You'll begin to see your passions more clearly and set achievable goals. Throughout your journey, I'll be there to challenge and encourage you in moving forward to discover your authentic self. For more information about my personal life coaching services, or to arrange a complimentary consultation, visit davidcottoncoaching.com.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
So let's jump back in time, though. Before you reach this point in time where you're comfortable at work, you're talking to coworkers, then you're just the one Peter's integrated 2 or 3 years. But the coming out process of talking to a spouse, children, family, friends, what was that like?
Every conversation, of course, is a little bit different. And we have to sort of frame up the conversation that I was in an unhappy marriage and I didn't like the way my spouse was treating me. And I'm actually gay and I'm hiding it. So it's almost like a combination of my life isn't working out so well. I want to be a better parent. I miss the old me. Oh, and by the way, I'm attracted to men. So I'm sure for some people it was a lot to take at one point. And I think, I'm sure you've had with other participants, the coming out process is many steps. So not the least of which is you sort of refine your story as you go, but you're also coming out to people. It's not a one-time event per se. In my case, I do have 4 siblings, and I all came out to that, called all 4 of them on the phone.
One conference call or individual?
No, individual. One person was like, oh, that's okay. I knew it. I'm proud of you, whatever. You know, it was a little bit of everybody has their own point of view or brings their own perspective in it. But I think more importantly, having those individual conversations allowed me to help refine my story over time.
Good. And how did the family members react?
Everyone was, for the most part, was pretty happy for me. I would say that they knew I was in an unhappy marriage, and whether I was leaving that person or just coming out in general, the idea that when you see your sibling in an unhappy marriage, I think any reason for them to get out, and in this case, to finally be really happy, be themselves, I think they were happy for me that way.
How about the kids?
It was an awkward time in sort of middle school. They weren't even in high school yet. And I think it was fine as long as it didn't touch them. And what I meant by that, that my identity was a work and adult thing. It didn't affect their day-to-day lives per se.
Was there any fear for them that they expressed about how they might be treated? I've heard that from some dads where the kids are afraid that they'll be treated differently at school if other kids find out that, there's divorce or a gay parent.
I probably won't go into too much details, but let's just say it was in North Georgia. So there was definitely some fear going on.
Okay, just the cultural norms. Yeah, I should say norms, the cultural perspective, I guess, of that community. Okay. Yeah, I've seen some families to where there are some different values. They somehow commingle and agree to commingle, I guess, and just accept each other, but neither really wants to embrace the beliefs or feelings of the others.
My mother was probably the perfect example of that. Thick Boston accent coming. Peter, just tell me you're not going to dress like a girl. And I said, Mom, I'm not. And by the way, I'm going to bring a football player because I like the big guy. Yeah. And she's like, okay. And that was it.
Yeah. I had somebody say, tell me you're not going to wear heels. Something like, no. So you said the big guys. Did you discover different communities or types out there in the world as you began to explore?
I'm a man of a certain age, and so the internet wasn't around when I was a child. And when it finally did come around and you see what a bear is within the gay community, that was a big milestone for me because I knew what I liked. I knew that there were people out there that liked that and that identified that way. And I said, hey, I'm not damaged in any way. I like burly men that are hairy and have a beard, and again, identify as a bear in the community.
Okay. What was the first question that you asked that HR guy of something you didn't know about the gay community that you were reluctant to ask?
I think I walked in my first conversation with him assuming that gay people lived a radically different life. I mean, you see it on television. You might see a pride festival on a video, and they go to work, they go grocery shopping, they do all the normal things, and they spend time with men as more often than not. Mm-hmm. And so I think the normalcy of a gay life was a shock to me. That the needs, the wants, the struggles, you're just spending you're watching sports, for instance, something that I love. Mm-hmm. You're doing that with men as opposed to men plus women.
Mm-hmm. So now you're married, have a husband.
I do.
You live here in Palm Springs. How did that come about?
We met through a long-distance relationship. So he lived in Portland, Oregon. I lived in Atlanta. And we met online. And to extend our relationship, he decided to move to Atlanta. Good news for me, bad news for him. He moved to Atlanta like 3 months before COVID.
Oh.
And so we spent a lot of time together when we got engaged, and then we got married. And then when COVID was dying down, he asked if I would consider moving back out west. He has business and friends out here. I'd never thought about it. And then, of course, visiting Palm Springs before you move here, it's like obviously a vacation destination. And admittedly, there was a work component also. I'm an extrovert by nature. I love working in an office. And at that time, offices were dead.
Yeah.
People weren't coming in, or if it was really a ghost town. And if I could work from home, and by the way, live in the California sun while I do it, probably not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. So you shared something with me that's not in your book, and you said you wrote yourself a letter to your 2012 self. Tell me about that letter.
And thank you for asking. I think it's one of the more clever things that I've ever done, and I'm really proud of it, because if I have one regret about my book, and I think this might be common to your audience, is that the in the closet Peter is a loser, and the outer closet Peter is awesome. I mean, physically, I'm better. Emotionally, I'm better. But I still am just one Peter. I'm an evolved version of me. I'm not necessarily a different version of me. So if I were to correct one thing in my book, I would be less hard on that Peter and more grateful. So that's what the letter is.
Okay.
I wrote a letter to Peter and I said, dude, guess what? It's 2025, it's 2026, and you're living in California, and you live in Palm Springs, and you are happy, and you are married, and you made it. And I think the leap that I took coming out, not having any friends, not knowing anybody, not knowing where my life is going to take me, not knowing if it was going to work, by celebrating the guy that took the chance because he was stronger than he knew he was. And I'm grateful that he gave me the life that I have today.
So acknowledging all that you were to become who you are.
Acknowledging the strength that it took to break away from that sad persona, and to know that I needed help. I needed to get away. I needed to reinvent myself. And again, through therapy, through friends, and just through a process of self-reflection, finding out who the real Peter was and developing and celebrating him.
So if there's one line, if you have the letter, that you could read from that to the listeners and viewers, what might that one line be from that letter?
Peter, you took a chance and it worked. And I'm really proud that you did it. And more than that, I'm grateful that you made our life a lot better.
That's beautiful. A chance. And it worked.
And it worked.
So what does glowing up gay mean to you now? Because that is the title of your book, Glowing Up Gay.
Yes. Glowing Up Gay is my way of saying that, in my case, and again, pardon the pun, it's never too late to become the man you were meant to be. And that a glow up, by definition, is someone who looks better as they get older. I like the fact that I used to suffer from male pattern baldness, and then I shaved my head, and it's like I look and feel better than I was 10, 20 years ago. And the idea that I'm now blossoming in the life that I have now versus just existing. Mm-hmm. And again, you have to remember, not liking who I was, having money problems, in a relationship that wasn't fulfilling, all of those things collapsed on each other. And then by working on parts of my personality and my life and my environment and my friends, all of those things, all the trends are turning upward, per se.
If someone who's listening is afraid to make that first step, what would be the first small move that they could make to glow up in their world too?
It starts with one conversation. It's finding a friend to feel safe with, to be vulnerable, to take that chance. And I'm not saying that every conversation is going to work out great. And as we discussed earlier, you're going to work on your story to tell people your situation. And you need people to be comfortable with where you are. And then on the flip side, you have to be comfortable with where they are. Mm-hmm. The idea, you can't tell your whole coming out journey and all the particulars about being gay that you can't wait to celebrate now if they're just hearing it for the first time. So it might require multiple conversations, but taking that chance to be vulnerable, and by almost asking for permission to be vulnerable with someone, again, whether it's a coworker, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone in your church, I think that process of finding someone and learning how to tell your story, and then learning from that and sort of building steps that way.
Yeah. Did you lose friends or family along the way?
I definitely found out that people who were cool with the idea and not cool with the idea, and that I started to navigate. And I think after a while, I wasn't asking for permission for people to accept me that I was gay. I was living my life, and that people who were on that journey with me, they were on the Peter train and we were all happy together. And if they weren't, I wasn't begging for their acceptance anymore.
So you came out at 44. If someone who's listening who's 24, 34, 44, 54, 64, and still hasn't taken the step because they think it's too late, what would you tell them to do?
Hey, friend, I just want to let you know that I came out later in life. A person, I didn't like myself. I was afraid. I was scared. I thought people would judge me. I took a chance. David took a chance. A lot of the audience did here. And I'm a better person because of it. And I love who you are now. I'll love you maybe a little bit more when you come out. I want you to do it because you'll love yourself even more.
So, Peter, during the process, you wrote a book called Glowing Up Gay.
Thanks, Savannah.
Yeah. Tell me about the process of why you wanted to do this and what impact you had on this.
I had a lot of stories in my head, and a coworker of mine recommended that I write a blog, and I was like, I should try to write a book. And I almost feel like I have a little bit of imposter syndrome. I don't feel like an author, but I wrote a book. I really just wrote about my life. And once I started writing, I sort of got the bug to be able to tell a story and then write a theme about it and look back at family of origin issues and milestones of my life to where I got now. In fact, my husband's in one of the later chapters called Marrying the Bearer of My Dreams. Oh. But the gift of writing, or the work that you do here, the ability to help people, to reach people, to inspire people, and that you never know or that you may never meet, you find out that's the greatest gift. That if my story helps people realize that it's never too late, that you can come out later in life, that you don't have to be stuck and sad in the life that you're living. And again, it's not, both of our mediums are not necessarily for the gay population exclusively. It's for people that are, again, that are unfulfilled, that need a reset. That's what I hope to achieve with the book. And luckily, I've gotten some really nice feedback. It's very authentic. And I think that one of the things about the book was I wrote it and then I sat on it for a year.
A year?
I was so concerned about all that I had revealed about my life. I had financial problems and death, ways that because I felt like a coward for many years. And I wrote about that, but it's the heart and the authenticity, the rawness of my story to be able to show people that I hated myself. I was living an unfulfilled life. I couldn't change who I was. I felt stuck. And then all of a sudden, I really did turn it around, telling people that they could do the same.
What did you learn about yourself in this process of writing the book?
This is not very friendly to say about myself, but my ex-wife and I had a tumultuous divorce. And I knew my parents were unhappy, but I never realized my mother, who I still idolize, really exhibited some of the characteristics in her relationship with her husband that I married again with my wife.
What is the one takeaway message you want others to have once they finish the last page?
Hope that if this person waited, again, until his 40s to come out and then finally be the person that he was in a time when he didn't know whether it would work out, I want to give people hope to take another step towards authenticity or to not settle for a life that's unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm. And not necessarily in your sexuality. I guess it could be hope in many things, just wanting to change.
Could be a job, could be a family dynamic. What does RuPaul say? If you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else?
Yeah.
Pretty true.
And we talk about it's never too late. It's never too late to make a change to your life on all types of things. It's just not about sexuality.
Yes.
So, well, thank you for doing this. I'm sure just like these podcasts and stories across the internet, this helps people too that you don't even know.
I can only hope. And I'm glad that it's a nice sense of accomplishment to do it. And then helping others in ways that you may not know. You go to sleep really well at night.
The subtitle is A Curious Journey of Discovery. So, well, thank you. Again, because it's never too late, this is Outlay with David. See you next time.
To find all episodes and resources for coming out later in life, visit outlatewithdavid.com. That's outlatewithdavid.com. your go-to source for inspiration, support, and real stories.
To hear more episodes, visit outlatewithdavid.com. And to learn more about personal life coaching services, go to davidcottoncoaching.com.